Okay, just a quick update. These are all LED lights. The problem is LED lights are not unidirectional. You can't see the needles on the tachometer, the fuel gauge, the temperature gauge, and the speedometer. So that's the problem with LED bulbs. Just want to point that out in case you decide to use LED bulbs and you don't see your red needles in your gauge. Another thing that needs to be serviced with this PT Cruiser is the light bulb on the gauges. As you can see, some parts are not lit up and some parts are. Hello and welcome to How to Helen, where you learn something different every day. In this episode, we will be replacing the bulbs on the instrumental cluster on this 2002 PT Cruiser. Now we'll start with the bottom panel. You just yank it out to expose the two screws on the side. Let me move the camera so you can see it. Remove these two screws on the side. With the two screws removed, slightly yank out the side panel. And just move it like that so that later we can move the trim bezel on top so we can release it. But this is good for now. You just need to have it open like that. Now we move on to the radio trim bezel. Start by removing the AC control knobs. Then use a plastic rim remover to remove the center power window controls. Now with the center power window controls, there's a security tab. You just have to pull it off before you can take out the connectors for the controls. Once it's off, then you can press down on the connector. Then you can yank out the connectors from the controls. On the sender, there's a screw that you need to remove. With the screw removed, you can yank off the whole bezel. From here, you have the two screws for the upper dash. We need to raise this upper dash so we can remove the trims for the cluster. I'm using a soft cloth to pry up the top dash so I can remove the trim bezel on the instrument cluster. Now I see some locking tabs here that I'm not familiar how this actually locks right now. So I'm just going to be careful when I'm taking this out. So basically, these are locked in by locking tabs, and you're just gonna have to finagle it out carefully so you don't break any panels. This is a terrible design. Make sure your steering wheel is all the way down so you have extra space to finagle your trim bezel. So you have your blinker wires connected here. You can either take them out so you have extra space, or you can just put them aside so it's not in the way. So I'm gonna choose to just put it on the side for now because I don't want the hassle of putting it back later. Stay. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4 screws holding the instrument cluster in place. So just take out those screws so you can remove the instrument cluster. 1, 2 on that side. Then we're gonna go on this side. 3 and 4. Now you should just be able to pull the whole cluster towards you. To remove the bulbs, you need the needle nose pliers. Twist the bulb socket counterclockwise to release it. Then you have access to the bulb. Now just pull it off to replace it. The part number for this bulb is part 74 for regular bulbs. Now I'm going to be using LED bulbs like this and or this because I don't want to do this again, and LED bulbs are longer lasting. The only problem with LED bulbs is they have directional polarities, meaning if you put it this way and it doesn't light up, you just have to take it off and rotate it and try it again because it needs to follow the polarity from positive to positive and negative to negative. Unlike regular bulbs where it's unidirectional, doesn't matter which one goes to where. So I'm gonna start replacing all the bulbs with these green LED bulbs. This one in particular. And if it doesn't light up, I just take it out again and rotate it and put it back. All right, I replaced 3, 4 now. So let's plug back in the cluster and just to see what it looks like. And make sure that your tachometer and your needles point correctly before putting it in.
Two hours later.
Okay, just a quick update. These are all LED lights. The problem is LED lights are not unidirectional. You can't see the needles on the tachometer, the fuel gauge, the temperature gauge, and the speedometer. So that's the problem with LED bulbs. Just want to point that out in case you decide to use LED bulbs and you don't see your red needles in your gauge. So I'm gonna see if I can find something else to put in, maybe a unidirectional LED or just a regular bulb. So as we saw that the LED lights were directional lights, it wouldn't light up the needle on the speedometer and the other gauges. So what I did is I just bought regular bulbs to replace them with. Now Make sure you wear gloves when replacing them. And I know some people are skeptic about this, but you don't want the moisture in your hand transferring to the bulbs and shortening the life of the bulbs. I know a lot of people don't like wearing gloves, but why risk it transferring your hand's moisture in the bulbs and doing this all over again? So let's not risk it. And that is how you replace the regular bulbs on this cluster gauge. So after replacing all the LED bulbs with regular bulbs, make sure that everything's working. The needles are lighting up and the fuel gauge, speedometer, and tachometer is all lighting up. Just make sure that everything's working so we don't have to dismantle the whole dashboard again. After confirming that the dash lights are working, we can now reassemble the dash and the center console, the same process we disassembled it, only in the reverse way. And that is how you replace the light bulbs on the instrument cluster on a 2002 Chrysler PT Cruiser. This has been another episode of How to Helen. My name's Rjeff, and thank you for watching.